Hello and welcome to 30 to Sovereign. This is my personal journey of being 30 years old and trying to achieve some form of personal sovereignty by 45 to 50. I turned 30 4 months ago and I decided this is the time of my life where you got to get it in check and you got to start putting stuff together. A lot of things that I didn't think people my age were necessarily doing. And I really started thinking about what is money going to look like 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now when I go to retire. I started thinking about it from a pretty objective point of view and it didn't look great. And I thought this was the time to finally get involved in finances and figure it out for myself. And this is by no means a channel or a conversation that's going to give you advice or give you theories that you should follow. I'm not trying to be educational about it. I'm trying to be observant and document it. And so this would be you joining me on my journey as I try to go through this myself. And if you learn something from it, awesome. Hopefully I will. I'm not an expert at this by any means. So that's my disclaimer moving forward, that you got to invest at your own risk and you got to make your own choices, but someone's got to do something to figure it out too. I'm in an interestingly unique situation, I think, where I have a lot of my expenses cut pretty low. So I had extra cash flow to see what I could do in the market and see where I could go with stuff. I'm 30, I'm single, don't have dependents, I have a dog. I don't have a lot of things that cost actual cash out of my pocket. And I realized over the course of the past 2 years, especially with the pandemic, I was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering and I got super into it and I was just dumping money into cards left and right. And I realized, because I track it all online, how much I was actually spending on this. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, well, shit, like if I had taken just a portion of that and put it somewhere else, imagine what that investment could have done. And imagine the long-term growth potential on it and just compounding and XYZ, yada, yada, yada. And Magic does maintain its own investment value to an extent, but it's not dependable, and it's not something I want to rely on to look at 20 years down the road and say, maybe this will work out. So knowing that and getting into it, decided let's focus on something else in life. I have a super addictive personality and I'm very much driven for perfection. So this, documenting it, is a couple ways for me to maintain those things. Keep myself committed to it. Keep myself growing in it, keep myself learning about it, and maintain some sort of necessary commitment to it. So, without further ado, this is where we're going. Today, January 5th, it's just after midnight, so it's technically the 6th, but January 5th was a super volatile day in crypto specifically, as well as the stock market. And it was the first time I've been in this that I started thinking about, well, maybe this isn't my game. Maybe this is not the place for me to be because it's a panic move. And I realized I watched my crypto assets shrink pretty rapidly. And I started to wonder, whoa, is this the time to get out? Where do I go instead? Is there one that's more stable than another? Is there something I could be doing to prevent this from happening? And ipso facto, I found out after a lot of reading that's part of the game. Now, for me, I'm frustrated because I feel like I bought in really high and the assets are going to fall. I'm going to come out somewhere around a 50% loss, give or take, before this bounces back. That's speculative. It's from things I've read. It's from watching charts and using very basic economic theories that I've applied to them, that it looks like that's probably where it's going to come out. So I decided, what if I started switching my assets into a more stable currency? There wasn't one, and there still isn't one. Tether is the one that people tend to use, and it's because it's based on the US dollar, so it maintains about a dollar amount. But if I switch into Tether at this point, I'm going to lose everything I've already built into it. So my long-term objective here is obviously to grow into personal wealth and to say this is a profitable investment. And I guess that crypto right now is putting me in that panic spot. I did contemplate for a couple minutes as pulling out of it completely, saying this is my loss and I'll buy back in at a lower rate. I don't think that's where I should be. And everything I've read about this says that's part of what you got to get used to is the volatility. Now, keeping that in mind, I embrace the volatility, but I feel like I haven't timed it right. And I've been exploring different avenues to figure out how to time it right so you can hit that big upswing, which I'm sure there's a more technical term for. And I just haven't got it yet. But I think it's something that with timing and growth and experience, you figure it out and you get to it. Having said that, this is still the first time I feel like I've sat on something where I've looked at a real issue in life and thought to myself, there's actually something at stake. And because there's something at stake, I take it a lot more seriously. So it's been a stressful day, and I thought this would be the prime time to start talking about this and finally motivate myself to get in front of a camera and start recording some thoughts. And if you're out there and you've experienced the same thing today, check your wallet or your exchange app or wherever you track your cryptocurrencies in, and you'll probably see the same thing. I'm in it for the long game, but I don't treat it like the long game, which I think is my own personal flaw. I do a lot of checking. I do a lot of, if I move this over here, I'll make 12 cents. And if I move this over here, this will... And I don't think that's the right spot for me to be in. I've read about day trading. Day trading is a fascinating concept, but I don't feel confident in it. And I feel like it's not where I want to be in it. It's not my job, right? It's not going to be my full-time job to day trade. At least I don't see that being the case right now. So for long-term growth and wealth management, this is where I want to be. But when you watch it shrink, you start to get nervous. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't have all of my assets into crypto. I don't have all of my assets in the stock market. I'm still financially sound where I am. If everything went to zero tomorrow, I had a reset, it'd still be okay. Speaking of the dog. But it's still a crunch to feel for the first time that you're really taking a loss. So, sir, we'll be back in a second. And when you feel that loss for the first time, it makes it very real. It's not like you're sitting there and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, it's growth. And then a little taper off. It was a hit. It was a reality check. It kind of pulls a rug out from under you. So I'm glad it did that because it puts into perspective what I'm doing. It makes you not just think, well, I keep pissing money into it every day and growing and doing this and, realize what your expenses into this are. I have been really diligent, I have to say, about tracking everything I've done, how much I put into it, what my, capital investment is into it and sort of where I'm shrinking and extracting from there. So it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of days where this goes. Now, the main reasons I found this is happening is, one, Federal Reserve announced some interest rate things they plan on doing. They've been talking about this for like a month now. And there's speculation that's what's causing this kind of slump in crypto. This little, I guess, mini crash, as people have called it, which kind of, I don't like using that term because I feel like the more you say it, the more it becomes a reality. But I guess the other half of this is Kazakhstan also put a massive crunch on their fuel costs today or yesterday, somewhere around this time frame. And apparently a ton of Bitcoin mining comes out of Kazakhstan. Enough where if people don't show up to the servers and the networks to do all this stuff, it takes a hit and that slumps off. I don't know how true that one was. It came from the same source I read about the Federal Reserve thing, coinbaseassets.org or something like that. But I have to say the announcement of the Federal Reserve news and the slump in crypto did happen at about the same time today, about 2 o'clock. So with any luck, this is a minor setback in what we've done, and we'll see what growth goes. This is a weekly series, so I'll be back next week with updates in terms of what's happened to crypto, stock market, anything I've experienced, any new enlightenment moments I've had, anything like that. So thanks for checking it out, and until then, invest wise.